Greetings, everyone. Peace and blessings be unto you all. I am Minister Jamie Eatman, and welcome. I am on the rise. I would like to thank you all for joining me. As usual, those of you who are here with me now, those of you who will join later, and those of you who will see this later. If you hear my voice, know that I am grateful for the attention, time that you've taken out to support the program. This is the On the Rise movement, where we strive to educate, motivate, inspire, and uplift individuals above life situations and circumstances. And that's life, as you know. Feel the situations and circumstances. Let us pray. Most Holy Father, we most humbly come before you, giving you honor, giving you glory, and giving you praise. And Father, we just thank you right now, for we know that this is the day that you have made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. We pray that you will open eyes, ears, minds, and hearts, that something will be said that will fall upon fertile soil, something that someone will be able to increase in their wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and or revelation, something that someone will be able to come behind and water, that there might be an increase. We know that all increases come from you. So we say, have your will and have your way, that your will be done. It's in the spirit of Christ, I pray. Amen, amen, and amen. All right, again, thank you all for joining me. I want to remind you, all you need to do to be a part of this program is just drop your messages in the room here, and I will gladly share them, and I will address them, time permitting. And I usually have a lot more time and opportunity to do so. So most things, not very much get past us here that gets unaddressed. And it is welcome. Wisdom comes from the basically applying yourself, studying the word. So if you don't do that and you're not willing to learn, chances are wisdom is something that may seem evasive. I, for one, I don't claim to be the wisest man, but I strive to be a wise man. So again, I invite you to come, leave your comments, not come, leave them, make them. If you come later and the program is over, feel free to leave them as well. I do want to remind you all, you can always catch this program on internet, Rise Radio. It is RiseRadioOTR.com. Let me make sure I have that correct. Yes, that is RiseRadioOTR.com. And when you go there, you'll see the last two programs that we've had, unless I fail to do my job, and it might be two of the last three programs. But in any case, feel free to go there. You can listen to gospel music, motivational music, and you can also see the last programs. All right, we want to get started with today's program. Today's program is another WeAre OTR Declaration. And those of you who follow, hopefully it doesn't take following all that closely either, to realize that OTR just stands for On the Rise. On the Rise movement. This is the On the Rise movement. And I am Minister Jamie Eatman. I am indeed your host. My brother Gregory, I don't know if I sent my information properly, but I called someone and they said Happy Father's Day. So he may be enjoying that. I don't know fully, but whatever the case may be, you know, when we're never alone. Always remember that you're never alone. Whatever you're doing, God is going to always be with you.
There is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
And I, for one, will join in with anyone. Don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth.
Greetings, I am Jamie Eatman. Join me Fridays at 8 p.m. to our On the Rise movement. All right. Thank you all. That was an explanation there. You do have to rise, as you hear the theme song there. I was caught off guard because I was working diligently earlier and I ran across these couple of clips and I just knew they would be in this room, and I'm looking for them to see if they are now, because I had committed to sharing them with you all. They were so appropriate. I'd been looking for them everywhere and I found them. Oh, here's one here. And Brother Gregory did come. He did make it. I want to welcome him before I get started here. Welcome, Brother Gregory. Peace and blessings be unto you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I just had a little connection issue, but I'm good now.
Okay, I thought I had failed you, my brother, but I see I got it there in time. To God be the glory. Our theme today is We Are OTR Declaration Part 3, and I was explaining how that OTR stands for On the Rise. We Are on the Rise Declaration. Program by my co-host, my brother Gregory. How are you today, brother Gregory?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good. I sent you a little note along with the program. I told you we will be starting with. Did you get it?
Yes, I got it. We'll be starting with the significance of I am on the rise.
And we would relate that to we are on the rise. So, given those two statements there, can you give me a progressive dialogue that would let people know why we are on the rise is our declaration?
We are on the rise is our declaration because we are always in the we're in the industry of trying to improve ourselves. And we have to always be better than we were yesterday. And so no matter if it's the little details or it's the big grand details, the one thing that we have to understand is that uh, being on the rise means you're always improving yourself. That means helping your fellow man, helping your brother, helping your relative rise up with you. You know, we all can rise up together. You still there? Okay. I believe Minister Jamin's having some connection issues, or maybe I'm having connection issues and I don't see it. But to elaborate on that a little bit more, sometimes you know we go through things, we go through trials and tribulations, and 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 my my father he always taught me just view it as a test, or view it as an understanding of of the situation that you're in, and trying to grow to be a little bit better, trying to be just a tad bit better, and learning from all your mistakes, because you know we make mistakes sometimes, and sometimes even with all the knowledge in the world we still uh, can make some mistakes. But the one thing that we can always do is continue to learn from every situation, whether it good or be bad. And as we continue to wait for Minister Jamie to come in here, some of the things that we talked about was helping our younger generation learn from our mistakes. They don't need to learn by experience. We know that sometimes uh, the biggest lesson is in experience, but sometimes the more wise person, or the more wise action would to be hear someone's trials and tribulations of what they went through, and make the wise decision. Well, they told me exactly what happened after they made a decision to do this, that, and the third, or we know about some of the consequences that come with our decisions, and it would be wisdom not to make that same choice. And hopefully, you know, we can pass that wisdom down to our younger generations so they don't have to struggle for anything. They can, uh, uh, you know, live out their lives and be grateful for it. Some of the things that we encountered over our many years on here on Earth, we can easily give to our younger generation, help them grow, help them be better than where we were and when we were their age. Some of the things that we did talk about in the past were we talked about how we can give them put them in leadership programs, how they can uh, learn from how to be a leader, or how to be a good support member. because not everybody's a leader. Some people are good support, and having good support people, make a great team. Uh, it's one of the reasons I love playing sports is because when you play sports, mainly the sports that involve teammates, something that you may not be the best at, someone else on your team is better at. And something they may not be great at, you may be the better person at that. So you can always lean on each other to be a greater team. And, that starts with your own home. It starts with having a great leader at the head, and the leader it's not just barking orders, but the leader is someone who they get to delegate and say, hey, you know what? I'm not that strong in this area, but you are that stronger in that area. Let's help make this better. Let's make this team a bit better. And some of the things uh, that make us better as teammates can make us better as a team, and that's how we can pull it all together. There's Minister Jamie.
Thank you, my brother. You know what? When I came back and heard you speaking, I said, now, my brother know how to train as he fights. So, great job. Great job. In my area here, there's thunder and lightning. There was a little, I guess, thread. You know how the lights threatened to go off?
Hmm.
The lights never went off, but the internet went out. So I have to come up, and if you notice in my background, I don't have my banner. So I'm at a different computer at this time.
No problem. I
But
was
thank
just talking about how
uh-huh.
some of the things that we learned about being on the rise is delegating and being good leaders. And some people, they may not have the key attributes to be good leaders, but they can be a good support member. And I was giving the analogy of playing on team sports, where one person is great at one area, where they may need improvement on, the other person on their team may be better at that particular thing. And I was saying, we can pass down from generation to generation the things that we shouldn't do and make each generation behind us a little bit greater by just giving them wisdom. And to keep it simple, I was saying, for our younger generations behind us, we can put them in leadership programs. We can put them uh, in programs where they follow a mentor that they want to you know kind of grow up and mimic or be better than. Like we had something in high school called college prep. If you wanted to go to college, you had college prep. Now, if you wanted to just go into the workforce, you had what was called technical prep. In my college prep, they set you on a path in my high school to go to college. They said you need to study for the SAT. You need to learn these classes just to get into college. And with technical prep, they still want to send you to a 2-year college, but it's more kind of straight into the workforce. So my high school, they worked with people and companies that said, hey, you know what? These are some of the jobs that we do, and these are some of the people that we hire all the time. And so they would give high schoolers internships, and they would allow kids to go to work with some of the companies that my school had relationships with to follow behind a mentor. And but the focus was to get people to move forward, not just graduate from high school and then don't know what to do. That was the purpose.
I like that last comment you said, Brother Gregory, because it touched home for me. I've shared this before. When I was in high school, nearing my senior year, they helped us all fill out these. I guess it may have been a standard form or something we filled out, but we sent it to these different colleges. They actually had us do this. And I got a letter back from one of the colleges, but it was for me. While I filled it out, there wasn't a clear explanation of what to expect. And when I got the letter back, not really relating to the process, I never even took it home. Probably, I can't say my mother would or would not have known what to do with it, but that's very important, like you said. That has to be a reality. To just say something and people hear it. It's almost like we can marginalize something. We can make it so routine, or we can desensitize people to it. And one thing I think that's like that is when we look at our history. Sometimes we become desensitized to it because we
Mm-hmm.
hear it so much. There are some people say, well, all we get is the same thing each year. And that same thing we get each year, it doesn't really move us forward, but it meets the criteria of that which they was obligated to us for, or the time frame that was allocated. So I love what you said there. I love the way you feel that with the experiences, and apparently Miss Jasmine Seeley does as well. She says group efforts while relaying great sportsmanship. That's a very important thing. It goes from the I to the we, and that's where we started off at. Apostle Harris says, team, together everyone achieves more. I
Oh, I
like
haven't
that.
heard that one in a while.
Yeah, together
she
everyone
she pulled that one back from the 80s.
Hey, well, if you can see, and it's interesting you should say it because things mean different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a big difference. I mean, in hearing you say that about how she went back to the '80s to get that, how about the one that there's no I in team? And I say that because I'm not one that's big on the generations, the making a distinction between them. But it is very certain that most people, young people nowadays, their favorite word is I.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's no I in team, that means that they are maybe somewhat, um, when it comes to being a team, maybe a little more challenged than someone that came up with that together. Everyone achieves more. But that's just some food for thought. But I wanted to throw my answer to that in there because when we look at the concept, the I am on the rise, we all say that as individuals, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very well the truth. But when you look at the concept of being on the rise isn't simply being educated, motivated, and inspired. It is educating, motivating, and inspired. It's something you're imparting to others. So while we're imparting that to others, we're those people that are in a position to impart to us. That's saying each one teach one. So while one might have just finished teaching another, and sharing with someone, the person you sharing with might very well turn around and give you a lesson on something else. And when we get the mindset of being on the rise, we're all welcome there. But the transition from the I am on the rise gets us to the point where we are on the rise. And when we get to that we are on the rise, that becomes the very powerful statement.
Yeah.
You've heard so many times where people will talk about us as a people or us as a community. And when they do so, it's normally not in a positive manner because they're looking at past history. But those things that they're talking about are the situations and circumstances we actually may be faced with. But how do we change that? Most people look at you got to change the situations and circumstances. But I don't believe that. I believe that the change begins within. I think change begins with an individual, but that individual has the ability to affect change. And when he rises to the occasion to do so, and notice I said rise to the occasion, because when you rise to the occasion, you kind of bring a lot of light on yourself. And when you do, the people that are looking on, they are looking to find fault. But there are some that's looking for inspiration, that's looking for encouragement. So you can't dictate what they find. All you can do is be the best you that you can be. And when you achieve that, then you get to the point where when you open your mouth to say, I'm on the rise, there might be somebody else, as Brother Gregory would probably say, well, don't forget me. I am too. We are on the rise. So that transition is so very important, especially when we're talking about that word that so many have so many views on, which is community. I want to thank Lady Antoinette. She comes and she says, greetings, Minister and Brother Gregory. Peace and blessings be unto you, Lady Antoinette.
Okay, brother Gregory. So we've that transition piece there is very important. And the reason I want to talk about that today, I want to try to see if we can get to the point of we are OTR declaration. You all may
Hmm.
not know this. I went to an event last night and they were speaking and I was really encouraged by it. And I shared with them, I said, there's a campaign going on now with We Are OTR, and probably the only person that knows about it is me. Well, I knew there was a couple of others because I explained it to them on Wednesday. But when you're doing something and it's given to you to do, there's a whole lot of reasons where you might not do it because you may worry about the numbers, you may worry about if you got everything right and not enough people know and all that. But when it comes down to something, particularly what we're talking about now, the We Are on the Rise declaration, it's not about a time frame. But if you have something to do, you have to do it. So we're in the midst of that right now, which I will tell you all more about it. So the topic is We Are on the Rise Declaration Part 3. And as you know, Brother Greg, we build up to this point talking about OTR, the declaration, and just some of the things as it impacts our community. So when we look at this particular topic and as it pertains to our community, the area that I really wanted to get to right here is this right here. It says Rise to Prosperity Incentive Program. And we're going to talk about that. But how important are these three words to achievement within a group, a community, or anything? The words consideration, cooperation, and commitment.
I believe that I've heard those words used before in different order, and uh, I was when I was probably in my 20s, I heard these three words, and uh, when they were said to me, he said, "Do you know what they mean?" I said, "Of course I know what they mean," and gave him the definition, and he said, "That's the definition of the words, but do you know what they mean?" I said,
Hmm.
"Oh, that's a good question." He said, "Well, it's the same question, but uh, the way he explained it to me, because I said I want to hear, what does it actually mean?" He said, Consideration is the leaders. Leaders are they're considerate of their subordinates. They're considerate of their constituents. They listen. That's a form of showing empathy."
Hmm.
And he said, uh, cooperation are the supporters. They're the people that make sure everything is lubed up and running correctly and everything is running smooth. That's where cooperation comes in. Uh, some people may think cooperation means just agreeing to, but cooperation uh, can be used as a verb, and it's making sure everything runs smoothly. And the commitment is the one that everybody uh, believes is just, oh, I'm going to stick with it. Commitment is just a little bit more than just sticking with it. Commitment is sticking with it through it all. That's what a committed person is. And when you stick through with someone through it all, and you help things run smoothly, and you have someone that's thinking about everyone in the group or everyone in the community, it's going to run like a well-oiled machine. And so that person that's committed, they're usually the person that holds everyone together. Like if you've ever just seen a family of, let's say, four people, there's usually the head of the household. They're ones that has they're the one that has to think about everyone in the group, everyone in the family. Uh, then there's the woman of the household, or some people may view it as second in command or right hand person or something of those nations. But they're the ones that make everything run smoothly. Like if you look at a like my household, my dad he was the head of the household. He said, "Hey, you're good at doing this. You're good at doing that. I know you're good at doing this. Help me. Let's help us run this thing together." And my mother, she was
Mhm.
the one that made everything, all the tasks that my dad assigned. She made sure that everything ran smoothly. And then uh, all of us said, "Hey, this is our commitment to the family. We're going to make everything run smoothly, so things can can come out for everybody. Everybody wins when the commitment is finally established."
Right. Okay, I like what you said. And the apostle typed in the text, she said, sounds like a marriage. And the marriage is the husband and the wife, but the family is a part of the family. So it's not just the marriage, it's the family. And as you made reference to the children, your dad addressed everybody as the head, and the cooperation piece was good. I like what you said with that. And that was a great definition that you gave us that he said. But I want to know at this point, how have you refined that to the point that I said, Brother Gregory, briefly tell me what those three words are to you?
Well, to me, they are um, some of the three things that we need for a community to thrive, not just survive, but thrive. You still there? Oh, I think we might have lost him again. Minister Jamie, you still there? Yeah, I think he's still having technical difficulties. Um, but to continue on, um, some of the things that I know for a fact, you know, are things like, mechanical engines. Every single component in the engine is needed for it to run smoothly. And if one component fails, the whole engine fails. And so, but as an operator of the engine, you have to consider every single part. You have to pay attention to every single part. You have to know when one part is acting up or one part is not sounding correctly. You have to be in tune with your engine in order for you to get 250,000 miles out of it. Matter of fact, I know of a car. Um, there's a guy named Matt Farah. He has a Lexus, and he has over 1 million miles on it. And the only things that he's done to it is regular maintenance, oil changes, rotation of the tires, brake pads, stuff like very minimal things. But he said the one thing that he liked about it is because the manufacturers of that engine and transmission, they were so meticulous and they paid attention to every single detail. By the time he got the car, he didn't have to do much but maintain it, but he still had to listen to it. So he said, there was a few little hiccups there, but nothing catastrophic. And uh, any mechanic will tell you that you have to listen to your engine. When you first get your engine, you you hear what it sounds like when it's healthy. And as soon as it starts making a noise, you have to pay attention to it. So, like in a family dynamic or community dynamic, when everything is running smoothly, it's beautiful. But as soon as you hear something, don't ignore it. You have to pay attention to it. You have to consider their feelings. You have to understand where they're coming from, show empathy. And when you come back from it and you listen to them, you take a step back, you listen to them, then you say, hey, let's talk about this and let's figure it out. And you come down to it, figure out a plan, and you figure out a plan to get back to the place where everything is running smoothly. That's what makes a great leader, and that's what makes a great head of household. And Sometimes we come across people that sound really good when they're talking, but if you sit there and listen to them, one plus one is not equal to two, if you know what I mean. And so sometimes we have to just take a step back and understand that when we have these things, when we have these people standing up in front of us, it's important for us to listen to what they say and and listen to how they're saying it. Because sometimes what they say may sound all like glitter and gold, but their actions may speak different. And I'm sure we all have heard the saying, your actions are speaking louder than your words. And so the one thing that uh, my mother, she always told me, she said, anytime someone tells you something about themselves, believe them the first time they say it. So if their actions do not add up with what they say, they're probably not the person to be trusted. Or they're probably someone you should keep at arm's length. And I've always been like that. And then some people they've approached me and said, "Hey, how can you keep people at arm's length?" I said, "Because it's only 5 people I trust with my life, and they happen to be the people I grew up with." And so, being that type of family dynamic that I had, um, before I can even open my mouth, sometimes my siblings or my mother or my father, they would jump in and say, "Hey, you need such and such." I'm like, "Hey, you know what? I was getting ready to say I need this, that, and the third." And it's because they're in tune with the family. We have one of the easiest ways to get back to getting in tune with your family, excuse me, is Sunday dinner. I We had Sunday dinner every single Sunday, no matter what, without fail. We all came to the table. We either talked about what was happening next week, or we talked about what happened the previous week. And we can bring anything we want to the table. We can bring some of our troubles, and while we're having a good meal that uh, either my father, or my mother, or we all prepared, we could talk about some of the things that may have troubled us, or we could talk about things that we just want to laugh about. Uh, but the point is, everyone at the table could see each other, and we all had a voice at the table. Now, once we left that table, then there was structure because my siblings were all 7 years apart. I'm in the middle, and the structure was my father at the head, my mother next to his side, and then us siblings kind of in order from oldest to youngest. And so naturally, when you have a structure, or some people call it a pecking order, uh, some people think that, oh, the youngest person, they may not have a voice. It wasn't that way in my family. In my family, uh, the youngest one, because he was at the table with us on Sunday, he could talk about anything he wanted to talk about. And when he was a younger child, he talked about some of the craziest things. But uh, we couldn't speak ill of it because my father wouldn't allow it. He wouldn't say, "Oh, well, this is what he's excited about." So if you want us to be excited about your thing, you have to take interest in his thing too. No matter, I believe back then it was he loved a TV show called Arthur. I don't even know if it still comes on, but it was on Georgia Public Television, and he loved that show. So when he came home from school, he would turn on that show, he'd watch it, and then he would tell us about it during Sunday dinner. And we were all old enough to know that it was just a show, but he was invested in. He was learning things, so he shared what he learned with us, and I think some of the things that we should get back to is like I was speaking on. I see Minister Jamie's back on with this. I was speaking on that. Uh, we need to get back to communicating with each other. I was speaking from experience that one of the ways that I communicated with my family is we all spoke together at Sunday dinner.
Right. I heard more than I before I came back. I had a second computer here. The image wasn't all that great on it, but thank you for sharing. And you're right. And as you were listening, I love that family approach to it, because it's like they say, charity begins at home. Our true classroom is at home. When we leave home and go out, that was one of the biggest things that angered my family, parents, or actually the community. It's when you were disrespectful, you represented them. That was a bigger picture there. And I love what you were saying about the way your dad taught his family, and that may have varied from home to home, but when you got outside there, you did have something there, and that something is very important. Though, I want to welcome Sister Yana. Um, Thank you very much for joining us, Sister Yana. She says, "Greetings, peace and blessings be unto you." I was regret I didn't get to hear everything you said in your answer concerning that topic, those words. But from what I did hear, they were consistent with kind of what you said earlier about the way you learned them. And believe it or not, words like this have to carry a value, and based on not just that value, but the life that we bring to them, how we begin to apply them. That's what really gives it value. And you said that you heard the words in a different order when you were explaining them. I don't know if you emphasized that order. Do you know if you did or not? I know you gave all three of them, but the order and they were given, was it? Can you just give us the three words in the order that they were given to you?
In the order that was given to me was cooperation, commitment, and then consideration.
Okay, great. And that's interesting, because as I was getting these words, I didn't have them in a particular order. And one day I actually thought on the order, and Lady Antoinette and I spent a little bit of time discussing it. And it's like communication is always so important. And when people come together to communicate, they have to bring things to the table. And all things considered, when we get to that point, then we kind of can determine how we're going to proceed. So then that calls for the cooperation in making that decision, and then the commitment to follow through. So that was how we came up with the order. But I didn't think anyone would ever even think it made a difference. But just to hear you, that was the first thing you said, but not in that order. So I can truly relate to that. Anything else you wanted to add to that before we go on to the next little portion here?
No, I believe they heard a lot of me while he was away.
Well, and that's good. That's what I always tell my wife. When something happened, anyone looking on even need not even know if you take care of business. So you took care of business. I appreciate it. Okay, number two here is this is kind of the call to action. Come, let us rise. Let us prosper. Let us declare we are on the rise. When you look at that statement, having written it, I kind of know what's there. What do you see in that statement, Brother Greg? Break that down to what's happening there.
Well, basically, what I see is uh, uh, we want to make a declaration of we're going to rise up, we're going to prosper, and we're moving forward.
Right, right. And those of you who are in the room, you all can share your comments as well. Sister Florence joined us. Welcome, my sister. She says, "I love that." Oh, okay, smart. You're wearing, Minister Jamie. Indeed, we are proud Africa, and we are on the rise. Greetings, peace, and blessings. All right, Sister Florence. Thank you so very much. Most people, if they were to come into the room and they see how few numbers we have and all of that, They wouldn't relate to that. But little do they know, when God does something, He's not really concerned with the numbers, the people, the masses, and so forth. I was going to share something with you all, but what better time than now? And I'll come back to that, Brother Gregory. But this is a something that took place. There's a lot that's going on in this video that, most people wouldn't get. Maybe it looks like something from a movie, but if y'all listen to this.
What's your name? And
I am on the rise. Repeat.
and what that means is this: no matter what my situation is, if I'm 20 to a desk, it doesn't make a difference because my mind is still functioning. My heart is still functioning. And until they fix the desk situation, what are we gonna do, Juliana?
Rise. We gonna
No,
rise.
that doesn't sound right. Y'all tell Juliana what we're gonna do.
Rise.
Oh, that's not good either. Let's try it again. What are we gonna do? What's my name? Mr. Eatman on the rise. And what's your name? Y'all can't talk at the same time, right? Yeah. But you can think the same way. When I say what's your name, just say we are on the rise. What's your name? We are on the rise. What's your name? We are on the rise. What's your name? We are on the rise. Now that sounds like African to me. Oh my goodness.
And y'all may not believe this, when we were in Africa and that was done, didn't have a clue concerning we are on the rise. It's like God does certain things, and even the people that are involved has to sit back in awe. Here we are now. We're making a declaration. We are on the rise, but that declaration that was made there is at least 4 years old. So as God has progressed this to this point, at no point did I go back to say, "Hey, let's borrow this from that." And that's the way things fall in place. That's how you know when you're doing something and God is in it. There's a lot of questions that could come up, but the answers are already there before you even get to them. I remember my Lady Antoinette and I used to do the program, and we'd be in the same room, sitting at the same desk with one camera. And a couple of times she would say, "I'm Lady Antoinette," and I'd say, "I'm Minister Jamie," and we are on the rise. We did that, never thinking that later on it would actually make a difference. But I'm going to give you my transition for on the rise, and then I'm going to come back to you, Brother Gregory, to this again. My transition was, I am on the rise, and most people wouldn't get that, but I was at a place last night, and this young lady introduced herself. I don't remember the name. Gabby, I think it was. And she introduced herself as Big Gabby. Now, she was a shapely young lady, but she wasn't big. And she definitely wasn't uh, tall in height. So I asked her, "So how did you get Big Gabby?" And she began to explain, and she said, "So I have to say big." And I told her, I said, "So when I introduced myself and I said, I'm Minister Jamie on the rise, I said, I have to use the on the rise. It isn't just for the people listening. It's because it was given to me to do." So we were able to relate based on that, that on the rise and her big. It's a declaration more so than a proclamation, a declaration. Okay, getting back to what Brother Gregory was saying there. Brother Gregory, because of the recency effect, can you give it to us one more time concerning the phrase, "Come, let us rise, let us prosper, let us declare we are on the rise"? You were telling us what was going on in that sentence.
Basically, I was saying uh, we were when we were discussing about how to come up on the rise and prosper, and it's basically a declaration saying this is who we are and this is what we're going to do, and uh, we're going to prosper, and who we are is on the rise. still there, Mr. Jamie? Uh-oh, I think he froze again. Looks like Minister Jamie's having a lot of technical difficulties today.
Right. Okay.
Oh, there you are. Are you still there? I guess he's going in and out. Um, but yes, so we here at the OTR, we're trying to overcome adversity, understand that we're on the rise, and by being on the rise, we talk about how we can prosper. We talk about how being on the rise is not just saying it, but it's believing it, and it's a declaration of what we're about and what we're trying to do. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, we always have to put one step in front of the other. Don't look back. Make yesterday make tomorrow a little bit better than yesterday. And so that's being on the rise. That's moving up in your situation, and that's prospering forward. I was saying it, stems from your home, it moves to your community, and then it moves to your neighborhood, and then it can move to your city, state, and beyond. And as we saw with Minister Jamie's video, we saw that he went to even another continent. And so uh, when you instill into, especially like he was doing with young people, to be on the rise, as long as your mind is there and your heart is still beating, you can still move forward and move up and move on the rise. And so that's what we focus on. We focus on talking about how even so some of the challenges we encounter throughout the world or here in this country, we move forward and we move up. Prime example, the LA riots are happening right now. There's people fighting uh, police officers and ICE agents trying to fight back, and this it's a whole mess going on in California. It's also happening in New York. It's happening in Chicago. Uh, it's happening in a lot of places in our country. And uh, the one thing I do is, I pray for everyone's safety. It doesn't matter what side you're on. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Um, whether you uh, you're for this or against it, I don't wish violence on anyone. I would prefer everything be a smooth transition. And Miss Harris, she said, be in it and being about it. And she's exactly right. I can appreciate uh, the way you think and the way you move, uh, being it or being about it, and being about your business, as my father would say. And um, like I said, I pray for everyone that uh, no one gets hurt. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Doesn't matter. Like I said, doesn't matter what side you're on. Uh, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat. Doesn't matter if you're Republican. Doesn't matter if you're independent. Black, white, yellow, or brown. I don't wish any type of pain on anyone. Uh, but at the same time, um, if you are the type of person you want to be on the rise with us, there's a way of going about seeing change, and violence should not be your go-to. Violence should not be your answer to it all. Violence shouldn't even be in your top 10. There should be other ways that you can go about change. And and even when someone is trying to be violent towards you, there are ways to avoid that violence and say, hey, you know what? Let's be diplomatic about this. Let's talk about it. And some people will say, well, I ain't got no more words. I don't know what else to say. And I said, when you don't know what else to say, there is something else to say because you haven't used all. I guarantee you haven't used all the words in the dictionary, or you haven't said everything that you could say. So I would love to see people, talk it out and not yell or scream, but just go about their lives and understand that some things they can happen with the situation that we're in here in this country, and some things, uh, you know, some things just take time, and hopefully, we'll get through these 4 years and either come out better or come out as we were before. But nevertheless, I don't want anyone to get hurt. Yes, Miss Harris, use wisdom in all things. And Minister Bar RF, good evening. Blessings to you as well. And uh, Miss Harris, she said, use wisdom in it all. And I believe that. If you can see the screen, it says, let all that you do be done in love. And I love that quote because when you incorporate love into it, you usually don't have any violent intentions. And even though I had parents that said, "Look, this is gonna hurt me no more. It's gonna hurt you." I didn't believe none of it. But the punishment, not physical, but the punishment that they were teaching me, I'm sorry, the punishment was to teach me. And the punishment was to say, look, there are consequences and repercussions to your actions. So if you act accordingly, you'll have to worry about any type of consequences. And the one thing that I couldn't stand was being grounded, not being able to go outside because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and outside was life for us. If my dad said, "Hey, you got to stay in the house," he basically put me in prison. He basically locked me up because I'd be looking out the window, seeing all my friends play in the street, like, dang, shouldn't have did what I did. But I learned my lesson very quickly. And though, those groundings were not very long, just maybe a week or 2 weeks, depending on the crime, uh, the one thing is I didn't do it again because I learned my lesson and they were teaching moments. You said you're
All
here
right.
with this,
Can
Minister
you hear me?
Jamie? There you are.
Yes. How's my volume?
Good.
My volume's good.
Yes.
Okay, good, good, good. All right. I've changed internet source. I have a little Wi-Fi box, so I'm using that now. Hopefully, I'll be able to hang around a little bit.
All right.
Seems like I missed some good stuff, but I know it was good, and trusting that those who are listening and those who will see it later will be blessed by what you said there. I'd gotten a number two and was asking you your input on it, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up from there. What was meant to take place in this statement was, there's a lot of things that we have to do, like those three words. There's an order that was chosen because there's some things that need to happen, and those words were reflective of that. But the first thing is we need to come together,
Hmm.
and in reality, and I think all faith communities, or most of them anyway, there's this word, this phrase that says "come." The Bible says, come out from among them. So where there's this division, where there's this discord, there's a call for people to come together. And it says, let us rise, let us prosper, let us declare we are on the rise. So when you look at that, the let us rise, that's the call. When we talk about being on the rise, we kind of touched on that briefly, and we'll touch on it again here shortly. And the other portion says, let us prosper. When it comes to prosperity, most people think about, money, but there's more to prosperity than that. So if we're
Hmm.
going to prosper, there's some things that we're going to need to prosper. We don't need all the money in the world, but there's some things we're going to need to be prosperous. And that's come, let us prosper. So as we come together in this manner, we need to be of one mind. So when we think of that one mind, let us declare. When we declare something together, that's a unity, a great sense of unity to say something such as we are on the rise. The mindset alone of saying, I am on the rise. Who does he think he is? We are on the rise. Where did they come from? And
Mm-hmm.
then most people are left with the decision, well, am I going to join them or not? The more people come together and the larger the community of individuals on the rise become, the more contagious being on the rise becomes. Because it's like if there's not any well lit streets on any street, I can do something and probably get away with it because there's really not much light. But the more light there is, the more um, visible my actions are. So we have to be mindful at that point. So that was what I look at in there. And going back to that concept, like you said, about starting in the home. If the family is on the rise, when you go in the street, you have somebody out there representing the rise. And if they
Mm-hmm.
come from homes that are very similar, they'll know that they're representing they're on the rise. And then the whole
Absolutely.
neighborhood becomes on the rise. So that's what I see happening in there. It's a transition. The one calling others, and though they may not be many, it's enough to say we. If it ain't but two or three, but two or three are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. So that particular we are on the rise is very symbolic. And what a person puts into it, it may differ even beyond that. I see while I was away, Minister Barb came in the room. I want to thank you for joining us, Minister Barb. Peace and blessings be unto you. And thank you for joining us. And Apostle Harris said, being it and being about it. I'm sure that's very important. Thank you so very much. All right. And let's go on from there. So any additional comments on that one, Brother Gregory?
I believe we definitely, between you and me, we both
Heard enough of you.
hit the nail on the head.
Okay. Okay, great. And that's good because I didn't even get the benefit of what you stated. So let's hit here, Brother Gregory. Motivation and viewpoints. Motivations and viewpoints. When we go through life, we are motivated to do and be something. I love what the apostle just said. I just saw her text and I don't know what it was in response to, maybe what you had said, but her comment was
Hmm.
about being it. So when we look at that, that becomes very important. That being it part. And if I could right here, being it and being about it. Okay, so that becomes very important. Being it and being about it. And we are actually talking about motivation and viewpoint. Reward and incentives of WeAre R2P incentive program. And what's it all about? We just talked about it, those three C's. That's the umbrella for the Prosperity Incentive Program. It's a program built to bring about engagement within the community,
Hmm.
educating, motivating, and inspiring individuals to rise above life situations and circumstances. What is the end result? They come up with, they're going to be cooperative in doing it, and it's going to be done in a sense of commitment. And that commitment is what brings us to the point where we are able to declare that we
Uh-oh.
are
Sound a little choppy there, Mister Minister Jamie. Believe you have a weak signal. All right, so it looks like Minister Jamie's still having some trouble, and so what we're going to do is we're going to put a pin in it, and we're going to continue this next Friday. We're going to make sure we pick up from motivation and viewpoints, and we're going to talk about rewards and incentive. We are R2PIP. And so I can't quite make out what he was trying to say, and I will make sure to take note of it, take a little screenshot right here so we know where we picked up, where we left off. And I really appreciate everyone hanging in there with us while we had some technical difficulties. And come back next Friday so we can finish what we were talking about. And hopefully there won't be a thunderstorm messing up the signal from Minister Jamie, and we can finish elaborating on motivation and viewpoints of motivation. And so I appreciate everyone coming in here and listening to us on this Friday. And remember to come back next Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we are on the rise. We are on the rise. We are talking about declarations this week, and we're going to continue talking about it next week. I appreciate everyone coming with us. Y'all have a good evening, and y'all have a good night.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Okay, the screen is still going, and I don't know if you all can still hear me. Look like Brother Gregory may have gotten knocked out as well. If you all can still hear me, please, someone let me know in text. Can you hear me? Okay, and I don't know what happened as I stated. Sister Jasmine Seeley, I want to thank you for joining us. And she says, we are on the rise. Yes, indeed. Declare and decree. I love that. That says a lot about her, those declare and decree. To God be the glory. Minister Barb says, I am on the rise. Sorry, I can't stay. All right, thank you. And Sister Seeley says, yes, thank you all. Consideration, commitment, cooperation. And actually put consideration, cooperation, and commitment. All right, thank you very much. We're actually at the point where the program would end, and maybe Brother Gregory couldn't end, but maybe he did end. So to officially close it out, I want to thank you all for joining us. I pray that you were blessed by what was being said, and I do want to point something out. With everything that's been going on, these are the things that happen in life, and when those things happen in life, you all may have heard me say, rise to the occasion. I thank Brother Gregory for rising to the occasion. When you rise to the occasion, it's not a beckoning, it's not a asking, it's something that you do. It's in you to do it. And because you're doing it and you're there, what could have gone in total disarray, you filled in, you made it better. So despite all of that, I thank Brother Gregory and I thank you all. Peace and blessings. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you all next Friday. And before I go, what I did want to do is let you all know that on Wednesdays.
Greetings, peace and blessings. You're invited to Rise to Prosperity, Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. I, Lady Antoinette, and my co-host, Minister Jamie Eatman, would love for you to join us, our panelists, and our conversation room guests Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. as we rise to prosperity.
All right. And you have been here with us today on the OTR movement, and we do this every Friday. So I want to invite you all back.
There is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
Tonight, for one, will join in with anyone. Don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth.
Greetings, I am Jamie Eatman. Join me Fridays at 8 p.m. to our On the Rise movement. All right, so having gotten all that out of the way, all that's left to do is to go ahead and bid you farewell. So I say peace and blessings be unto you all. Thank you very much. God bless.